Good morning, everybody. 8:15 a.m. is December 5th. Welcome to my channel. Yesterday was just a day that we started out hot because of the meta news, and then that sold off pretty hard. And then we kind of chopped around, and then had a nice push lower, which basically just swept liquidity from the day, and then that enabled us to go back higher in the S&P 500. So we're still balancing, but making higher lows. So definitely dips are getting bought. Okay. And last couple days, you've had positive news, negative news from Microsoft that then became false, which drove the market lower. Then you had Meta positive news that then the market took an open drive lower, right? And then right now, I mean, this is looking like we just want to go higher, right? But I've been talking about the supply zones that we're in, the daily supply zone. That's been very difficult to just push up into that. Also, especially since this market is just, yesterday was another day of chop, basically. All right, internals showed me that all day. For the majority of the morning, I was just like, there was nothing to do. We were inside the middle of the prior session. You're asking for trouble. You're asking for trouble. Also, you were hanging out at 256 in the Nasdaq. I kept saying that is the level to watch, is the 256. Okay, that's been support in the overnight for the Nasdaq. As long as you hold above that, it's bullish. Okay, we did dip below it, but then we closed above it. Okay, that's your ultimate balance in the Nasdaq. But like I said, we have heavy supply above us, right? And this market hasn't exactly been all out bullish. Okay, we're moving sideways. We're consolidating, right? Sometimes you need a decent correction in the market, and sometimes the market just moves sideways before and coiling up more energy and more energy. So right now, nobody has felt much pain overall, and that's just where we're at right now. Now today, we have core PCE, which is interesting. Usually comes out at 8:30. It's coming out at 10 a.m. today. And let me make sure that just so I have my time zone correct. Maybe I'm pretty sure I do. Yeah, Michigan Consumer Sentiment usually comes out at 10, but not core PCE, but that's when it's coming out. So it should be interesting today. So basically, if you don't have some kind of nice setup around 9:40 or so, you kind of got to wait for the dust to settle. You basically got to wait for that dust to settle. All right. Okay, let's get into it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Stephen Gonzalez. I use market profile, volume profile to find structure. The marks along with supply and demand, gamma exposure levels, the most traded price of the year, the month, the week, and the previous day. That is my edge. Okay, that's how I base a lot of my theory and my analysis on those levels. Also use anchored VWAPs, market internals, book map, and my weekly expected move indicator that I give out for free on my Discord. Okay, now hopefully you join me every morning. All right, give you the market story, market news, economic calendar, technical analysis, and I hit you up with the long and short trade scenarios in the Nasdaq and the ES futures towards the end of my stream. All right, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. That's Confluence Trading. Go to the YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. Okay. Yesterday was a clear range day. Okay, clear. In internals told us that, right? And whenever the internals are just like they're just in parity, the market doesn't have enough strength to just all out break out. It's just not going to happen. So you basically want to sell value area high, buy value area low, right? You always want a discount. All right. Because I know what happens. The market makes it look like the market's going to move up higher via price action, and then it goes down lower, and then it looks like it's going to go down lower, and then it goes higher. Okay. So that's what we did yesterday. Simple as that. Okay. Now, let's go right into the futures. What is moving markets this morning? We have silver up 1.73%, gold up 0.33, Nasdaq's up 0.24, 10-year yield's up 0.22, ES up 0.13, VIX is flat, Russell's up 0.06, dollar is flat, Dow is flat basically, 30-year bonds being sold slightly, crude down slightly, Ethereum down 0.92, and Bitcoin sliding back a little bit today, down 1.55%. Okay, moving on. Let's look at the Max 7 Plus here. Broadcom up 1.17. AMD up 0.61. Meta's up 0.49. Amazon up 0.41. Amazon had quite the negative day yesterday. Okay. Who's our laggards? All right, you got Coinbase down 0.38. Interesting that I would think it might be down a little more with Bitcoin, but Netflix, I think's acquiring. I don't know if it's official yet. We'll look at the news. Acquiring Warner Brothers, which encompasses HBO. Okay, so they're under $100. Okay, I'm hoping that dips even more. I wouldn't mind adding that to my portfolio. Obviously now it's $99 stock. It's not a $1,000 stock after that split. Let's look at it real quick. I don't know if it's official. It might be official. Let me see here. Netflix to buy for 83 billion. For 83 billion. Interesting. Okay, to buy, but I guess it's whatever. It's almost a foregone conclusion. That's why it's selling off a little bit. Okay, let's look at top sectors. Oracle. Remember that name's been battered. Got an upgrade the other day. Might be a nice chance to get into that. That was up to $400 something at one point. I know they have a lot of spending for AI. I think that was why people were worried about it. But now it's at a discount, right? GE Vernova, that thing. Every time I think, ooh, I want to add to my position, and I'm like, oh, I should maybe get add here, and I'm like, I'm not sure. I want to, and then it just rips again. Rips again. Every time I want to add to that thing, I think about it. It makes me look like a fool. I mean, my shares are at 200 and something, and it's 636. Boy, oh boy, I wish I had more shares of that. Salesforce, mining's up. All right, the laggard here is PepsiCo. PepsiCo. Now they looks like they had a dividend. Let me see where that dividend is. Dividend 12. Yeah, that's why that's down. Because you got to take out the dividend, so the price will be lower. Okay. Let's see here. Let's move on to granular. Let's look at the granular list here. Ulta Beauty up 6.75. Unity Software up 3.2. Humana Healthcare up 2.19. All right. Let's see laggards. SoFi down 7%. DocuSign down 6.89. Oklo. Why is that down? 4.16. Why is Oklo down? It doesn't really say there, but it's down. All right, moving on. Sectors. Let's look at those sectors. We have semis. Semiconductors are leading the pack, up 0.68. All right, up 0.68. Technology up 0.40. Okay. Remember, we have core PCE, Michigan consumer sentiment. Usually, the core PCE comes out at 8:30. It's not this today, apparently. And Staples is the only little lagger, but it's not down much. Now, I did buy Staples, 200 shares about at 75. All right. I have covered calls, 2 of them. I have a total of 400 shares actually in my portfolios, and covered calls. So I have a covered call at 78. So I'm not sure what I want to do there. I might close it today, and I can get basically my insurance, the covered calls, and the stock appreciation. Not sure, or I could roll it. Not sure what I want to do with that yet. Not sure. All right, moving on. Let's look at that economic calendar. Let's look at that economic calendar. We got core PCE. Consensus is zero point 0.2. Previous was zero point 0.2. Expecting that to stay the same. Michigan consumer sentiment. Consensus 52. Previous 51. All right, so that they both, if they're both coming out at that time, it's going to move markets. I do not want to be in a trade at 10 a.m. I could tell you that right now. Okay, now that's core PCE. Now PCE headline, okay, year over year, 2.8 expected. Previous is expected to rise. Okay, now let's look at the juice here. Let's see if there's Trump stuff coming today. Let's see here. Trump at World Cup draw at 11:40. I don't know if that will be too political. Then each signs executive orders at 3. I don't want to be near this market. I'm hoping I'm not doing anything after 1 o'clock, 12 o'clock in this market. I hope to be done. I don't see anything here. Right? I don't see anything here that would make me. Let's see here. That's it there. Let's see if there's some stock news here we can get into. Okay. So, well, it does say Netflix to acquire Warner Brothers. We just talked about that. I didn't know if it was set in stone, but it's pretty much looks like it's set in stone. That's pretty interesting because now they're going to own HBO. I don't know how that's going to work. All right. Let's move on to some more news here. Let's see, this probably in here. Netflix exclusive talks to buy Warner Brothers Discovery assets. Netflix in exclusive talks to buy Warner Brothers Discovery film and television studios along with its streaming assets after offering $28 per share, a source with direct knowledge of the matter said. Okay. India weighs greater phone location surveillance. Apple, Google, and Samsung protest. Tesla launches low-cost Model 3 variant in Europe. Let's see. EU fines X 140 million for breaching online content rules. TikTok settles with concessions. Let's just look at this. U.S. stock index features a little change as investors awaited a delayed inflation report to assess whether concerns over elevated price pressures might influence the Federal Reserve's monetary policy path. The September PCE index is scheduled for release later in the day, with economists polled by Reuters expecting a 2.8 annual increase, up from 2.7% in August. All right. Let's see here. AMD chipmaker CEO Lisa Su on Thursday said the company has licensed to ship some of its I think it's MI or M1, I'm not sure, 308 chips to China and is prepared to pay a 50% tax to the U.S. government if it ships them. Okay. Oh, it also says U.S. President Donald Trump in August said his administration had reached a deal with NVIDIA and AMD under which they could resume shipping some chips to China in exchange for paying a 15% fee. Apple, the iPhone maker, on Thursday announced that Meta Platforms Meta chief legal officer Jennifer Newstead will join the company as its general counsel and senior vice president. Let's see here. Any more news? And let's see here. Well, let's look at Ulta Beauty. Why is that up? The company raised its annual sales and profit forecast on Thursday, betting on a strong demand for its makeup and skincare products going into the holiday season. The company now expects annual net sales of about $12.3 billion. All right. Alrighty. I think we're done here. Let's move on to market internals. My beautiful bread and butter market internals here. While I was in my community yesterday, of course, talking to one of my good friends, I was telling him that internals tell everything, right? The internals give you everything you need to know because everybody gets fooled by price action. Okay? I mean, look, you dropped here. Oh my God, you went up. Oh, we're going higher. Oh, we're going lower, right? Oh, we're going higher. And then, oh, man, this is really looking strong. We're probably going to break out. Oh, we drop. Oh, we're going down lower. Nope. Why? Look at the internals. Market was not strong or weak. It could not go higher. Can't, right? I knew that was a range bound market. Now, yesterday I had some decent trades, all gave me excursion. And I was like, okay, cool, cool, cool. And then it hit my break even. It would hit my break even. And now comes the question, right? What environment are we in right now? Are we in a trending environment or a balanced, consolidated environment? Well, we're in a balanced environment, right? So sometimes you don't get those moves, right? Like, so if you're in this mess, you're kind of like, this is kind of a good scalp area. But then I was waiting to go, I know that we should rotate back to these equal lows here. We should break them. And look, we did, right? And I was trying to short, and it worked. I think I got in a short here, hit my break even around somewhere around here. I think it pushed down and it came all the way back up. And I was like, all right, you know what? I don't want. I looked at this and I was like, this is just moving sideways. And then as soon as I like went for a walk, I noticed that when I came back, it ripped down what I thought it would do. Okay, so you get those moves out of nowhere, right? But before that, you're just doing nothing, right? So that's what happens in that market like that. You got to know your environment you're in. I'm not expecting the hugest move, and maybe I should have traded accordingly. Like all this week, I've had a bunch of days where I was up in a trade because I was expecting the move to continuation, and then it would give me nice move. I'm up over 1.5 R or something, and it comes all the way back against my break even, and I'm like, man, if I was just taking what the market's giving me each time, I would have a great week going here. But that's how you have to adapt. Okay. Moving on to daily charts now. Let's look at these together. There's not much to look at. Not much to look at, folks. The one thing we're doing, right? And this is because of Meta, really. But you can see here, that's last month's highs, which is actually this level, right? That's the beauty of my little express chart here. That's the monthlies. Orange is the weeklies. That's last week's highs, right? So we closed above last week's highs. But every day this week, let's see, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, right? Every day this week. So Monday tried to go up to Friday's close, couldn't. Tuesday tried to go up to Friday's close and hit the last week's highs and sold off. Then we went up again, thought you were breaking out, right? And then closed by here. The next day, you open all the way up here with Meta News, go all the way back into last week's range, but then you close above last week's range and below last month's highs. Okay? And all we're doing is just higher low here and a higher low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher low, a higher high, a higher high, and a higher high. We're just slowly grinding up. You know, you really can't say anything bearish about it. Remember I said this prior volume is going to be a problem. And I went over those daily supply zones yesterday just saying it's kind of tough. Oh, look, we might have broke that yesterday. Yeah, we broke that, finally broke that daily supply zone. But you still have this resistance here. Where are we at now? We are 6085.20. Okay, we came down a little bit. We were gapping up earlier. So now I don't know why. Okay, now we're kind of like we're getting some selling right now, and I'm pretty sure. Let me just make sure. I'm gonna bring up some news here. Let's see. Did anything just come out? This is at 8:09. Let's see. So Hassett. Let's see. Let's see here. It says Morgan Stanley expects a 25 bips rate cut. Okay. Then it says Hassett, massive momentum into next year as factories open. Would be disappointed with 3% growth. Not discussed. Fed president's issue with Trump. Back Besant's view on Fed Reserve Bank presidents. Okay. Now, again, like I said, market is, I wouldn't call it selling off, but it's definitely going down, right? We're back inside yesterday's range now. I'm trying to see. Let me check one more source here. If there's any other news here, let's see. Canadian participation, Canadian blah, blah, blah. I don't really see anything. If anybody has anything they want to share, I don't know. Like I said, it's not huge, but it definitely is a nice selling. We're back into the range. Okay, we're gapping up. Let's look at futures because we were actually gapping up, and now we're not. Let's look at futures. Let's just see what's going on here. Look at that bounce, boy. Wick. Here's that wick. We were all the way up here. So in futures, you're still in daily supply. Okay. There's that last week's highs. Okay. This price action has not been great. I can tell you that right now. When I'm looking at my demand zones, it's just a garbage mess. It really is garbage. It's just you wick up, you wick down, you wick up. It's garbage. Okay. Moving on to Qs. Let's really look at the Qs here. They're actually pulling back deeper into range a little bit. Let's see here. Netflix is even weaker now. It's at $98. What else here is getting weak? I don't really see it. All right. Qs. So Qs, look at that, holding last week's high. So structurally a little stronger, but look at that big resistance, boy. That is some big resistance at 625. Remember I talked about that. That 625 resistance is pretty serious. Pretty serious. And you got that inverse head and shoulders I talked about. I think this 625 could be your breakout. Okay. Could be your breakout. Where are we at now? 623.50. 623.50. We are right here. Okay. Kind of at the 2-day balance here. That's where you're at. Okay. Let's look at futures because this gives us obviously the 24-hour view pretty much. And look at this. This is just horrendous price action. Horrendous. Like a doji. Then you're getting a wick here. Remember, look at all that resistance. 25766 area. Look at all that resistance. 258, 257 area. A lot of resistance. Still in that daily supply zone. Now, what do? Do we come back and hit last week's highs again? Don't know. Don't know. Okay, so that's what's going on. That is profit taking. We could roll down. Right now we're in a demand zone. We'll go over that in a sec. Okay, we'll go over that in a sec. Real quick, let's just look at how our RSP, our equal weight, is doing. Okay. Consolidating as well. Hit last month's highs. Okay, let's look at the NYSE, the New York Stock Exchange. All right. And finally, we'll look at the NASDAQ composite. Should look very similar to the Qs. It does. Okay, interesting that. Oh, that's over like I think 3,500 stocks, and it literally still tracks the QQQ, even though the Nasdaq 100 is only 100 stocks. Pretty interesting. It really tracks it pretty closely. That's not the case for the New York Stock Exchange and the S&P 500. It doesn't do it like that. Let's look at breadth. Breadth here. Let's look at it. We closed at 55% of stocks are over its 50-day simple moving average. 55% of stocks over the simple day moving average. All right. Nothing great. Makes sense. That's why we're middling. Middling. Okay. That's what's going on there. All right. Now, let's Look at these hourlies. You can see this candle that's happening here in the hourlies. Okay, pretty nice little candle here. Okay, let's look at it. Boom. Hourlies here. Now you notice here today I have a channel, and this channel has really been honored from right about here. You could say from the bottom all the way here, right? But the tops had a couple tops here, but then look at this. Boom, 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 boom. Right? Boom, boom. Hit it again. Hit it again. Now, are we set to do this? Maybe. Maybe. Okay? Maybe. Maybe we will. Okay? And look at the wicks. Look at those wicks from yesterday. It's just like get down, comes down, rips back up, came down, rips back up, came down farther, rips back up, came down, rips back. It just can't. That's just showing you the buyers stepping in, boy. Buyers are stepping in. Right? These equal lows had to get taken out, and they did. That's what I wanted. I was on my walk. I was on my walk. Let's see. So look, you had the consolidation. You have that supply zone right here, right? Now, what do we do? Right at last week's highs again in the ES. Okay, you're in a demand zone. Okay, so do we now? Recently, you can see. Do we have any shallow pullbacks? Right, you come up to that line, you go to the line, come up to the line, right? Here, you almost go up to that line, you break the line, come up to the line, and then look. That's the only time we that's the only time we had a shallow pullback. That's the meta. And then guess what happened? We go all the way back to the line. And then we go all the way up. Now, do we go all the way back? Don't know. But right there is the most traded price of the week. We're at it right now, 68.63. Okay? So, are you going to get the shallow pullback? I don't know. Right? If you break that, hold below it, I would say we're probably going to test the most traded price of the month around 68.43. That's your month to date, week to date anchor VWAP right here. You can see we hit that yesterday. So that's your ES. Pretty simple, right? It's just the price action is garbage. It's really, really garbage. Really is. It's just whippy. That's just, look at that. I mean, the bodies, look at the buying that's coming in. It's pretty apparent. Now, this is a pretty bearish candle here. So you're going to have a supply zone right here. Okay, let's put that on right now because that's probably, I'm going to guess, close to a 3-hour or 4-hour supply. Let's do that right now. So that's a 3-hour. Let's see if we can get a 4-hour on that. I don't think we get a 4-hour on it, but I could be wrong. Oh, we do have a 4-hour. Yeah, we're going to get a 6-hour. I don't think so, but it could be wrong. Oh, we have a 6-hour. That's major. I don't think we have an 8-hour. Let's see. No, we don't. Okay, so that's how I do my supply and demand. We have a 6-hour. So that's a little powerful, right? So what I like to do in this case, right, I'm going to take this, copy it, paste it. I'm going to bring it over. Now that's a 6-hour supply zone. That is a decently strong, because I have a thicker border, that signifies a stronger supply. That just means that you had a 6-hour base and now you're breaking out of it. 6 hours breaking out of it. So it's stronger. Okay? That's a stronger level. So if we go back to hourlies now, we have that supply zone there. Over here. So that's what we're dealing with, folks. So now you just saw, right? That's a powerful supply zone. Very powerful supply zone. Okay? And this is not as powerful. This demand, we could rip right through it. I don't know what's going to happen. And again, still don't see the news that really is bringing this down. Okay, it doesn't really matter because we're looking at technicals. All right, moving on. Let's look at that Nasdaq. We're going to also have a supply zone there as well. Okay, let's look at the Nasdaq. Nasdaq doesn't have that beautiful channel. All right, let's see if we can get an 8-hour. Let's start with the 8-hour here. No, we don't have an 8-hour. Let's do a 6-hour. We have the 6-hour supply. All right, we're really cooking here. While we're looking at that, let me see if there's a something. Let me see. Let's see here. Let's see. I'm going to look again at my news because this is a little heavy selling just to see here. I'm looking at, it says Alphabet price target raised to 350. Okay, so that's positive. Okay, I'm trying to still see here. I don't see anything. Trying to, guys, give you the best here. And all I'm seeing is Canada, Hassett speaking. Okay, this might be it. This might be the reason here. Not sure. At 8:08, I didn't see this earlier. It says this is what might be the case. White House senior advisor Hassett, the AI economy is moving faster than the 1990s dot-com economy. I don't think the market liked that. Okay? That is the news. I believe that is the news. I'm going to highlight that for my channel. I'm going to put that for you guys here right now. All right, so put that in my Discord. Try to give you guys everything up to date. Okay, now we're going to throw this 6-hour supply zone on here. Boom. Now we got the 6-hour supply, and we know that's strong. Now look what happened here. This is quite a reversal, folks. This is quite a reversal. Okay, look at the Nasdaq. You got your 6-hour supply here. Okay. Now look, we just took out this demand zone. Now we're back to ultimate balance. That's your 256, folks. Okay. If we take this 256 out, now look, I'm going to show you something here. See this little liquidity right here? You swept it right here. Now look what happened. If I had to guess, we're going to come back down. If this moves below 256 and starts to accept and it can't recover 256, we are going to test probably these 254 zeros. And if we break those and this gets some legs on it, now remember, you have major demands here. We could get down to the 253.17s here. Okay. High volume node there. You can see it. So that's what could possibly happen now. 256 taken out, we roll. We roll lower. Okay, we roll lower. You can see the pocket of volume here. It's not a lot of volume here. You can see it. See how we moved up? So very cognizant of this level. Very cognizant. Okay, very cognizant. And let's put a little trend line. Let's see how we are with the trend line here. It's probably not a perfect trend line. Look. If you did this, some people do it to the latest, right? You're still in trend. If you do it by connecting the wicks, you're breaking trend. So depending how you look at the trend lines. Now you do have a touch here, a touch here, a touch here. You do have 3 touches here, so look how it lines up, right? Basically, take out this 256s. I might leave that there. All right. Now you got month-to-date anchor VWAP, month-to-date, week-to-date anchor VWAP, 25525s right here. So that's your levels, folks. That is a pretty bearish bar, right? You just took out all that buying. Now you're going to aim yourself right at the. I'm telling you, very, very. This is very bearish. Okay. And this because we're kind of in balance, right? This just let's see if you get the move lower, and it probably will get bought. And I'd say you'd stay bullish for the macro around 25320s. All right, that's what I would say. That's how how I do the structure on the plays that I do, or the way I look at the market. I want and we also broke the you can see here it's my dual market profile. So you can see, look, we broke this demand as well in the ES. So you're seeing both markets here. Okay, both markets. So let's see what we do here. We're getting a wick. Very important. 256 is very important. You cannot lose that. Okay, you can't lose that. So now we're going to move on to the market profile, volume profile. Let's do it. Okay, not sure who's with me today. Feel like I'm dropping some golden nuggets on you guys. All right. Now, here's our market profile, volume profile analysis. Okay. All right. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. So, first thing we're going to look at, we still have a balanced composite profile, right? It's nice right here. Nice. You got your excess to the upside. You got your value area highlighted in light blue. And you have very beautiful profile. Tells us exactly we're in balance, right? Don't need it, but it's nice to see. Nice visual. Nice visual to see it. Okay. We're in ultimate balance, which means this is the most traded price of the rolling month. This is the most traded price of the rolling week. Whenever they're together, that's ultimate balance. Big moves happen from ultimate balance. Okay. So let's see. Right now, semis are still the leader. So we'll have to see. Now, pretty simple levels here. We just talked about them earlier. Okay. So what are we doing? We were gapping up. We did make the most. This is very important, right? This is why I love iron profile. So it tells us the market's behavior, right? Because look, the most traded price of the overnight was here, and we were gapping up. What do you think? Who was there? Was there longs or shorts there? Mostly longs, right? So now you move away from that, you're going to get selling, right? Now, if you look at the market, right? Higher low. Now I know this was a higher low that got broken, but you got a higher low, higher low, higher low, right? And then what do you think people are doing now? Probably taking profits, right? And then if we can't get over this 68, 62s, and you hold below it, gravity is going to take effect, and all longs will start to liquidate. Okay. And yesterday we didn't test the big level of the 68.20, 68 to 18s, right? We can maybe test that today. Okay, because of the balance rules. Okay, it's like I said, it's gravity. It's gravity. To the downside, it's like you're on Earth, right? To the upside, it's like you're on the moon. And gravity, there's no gravity, and you just start floating back up because it just changes hands. Money keeps changing hands to the sellers, to the buyers, to the sellers. That creates a base, that creates a balance, and then the next thing you do is you trend, right? All right, so let's look at levels together, right? We are inside yesterday's range. Here's yesterday's highs. Here's yesterday's lows, right? What are we holding? The most traded price of the week, 66.63. 68.63, sorry. So this becomes an important level, right? overnight lows with the close of yesterday. Now it's holding it. Notice how we popped down and we're getting support. This would be bullish if this holds. Okay? This would be bullish if it holds. Do I think it will? Based on structure, you had liquidity swept up here. I would say probably not if we're staying in balance. Right? If we're staying in balance, probably not. Because look what happened yesterday. See this liquidity? Whoop, swept. Guess what we did? Oh, were we going up? No, look, because we went up. We started here, and guess what happened? We had to test lower again. Because these longs had to liquidate. And then just the opposite, right? Sellers tried to push it lower, and we went back up. So that game keeps getting played. Okay, now we have our 6-hour supply. You saw me put that on live. So that 6-hour supply zone's right here. 6886 is our overnight highs. Okay, we're going to look at that. And down here, this is the most traded price of the month. And you have your yesterday's lows. And then we have our balance lows. Okay, balance lows go from 68.12. Let's call it 68.20. Okay. This is all we got to worry about today. Simple as that. Simple as that. The beauty of the market profile, volume profile structure that shows me, it's beautiful because we have overnights. In the lighter shaded areas, the dark is the real-time trading hours. And I can just see beautifully. This is what we're doing in the overnight. This is what we did in the real-time trading hours. And it gives me just very big levels that everybody looks at. Okay. Now, let's break it out. It's only 30-minute bars. Now, notice we took out the overnight low here. So it's very important. And what do you have here? You have very thin volume here on this move. Very thin volume. You could say we swept the liquidity of the overnight lows, which we did. And now let's see if we can hold here. Okay. And the market opens up and whoa, we're not that weak. Right? We just gave the market some liquidity then to move higher. I don't know if that happens. Okay. So let's get into scenarios. I'm hoping I'm making sense to everybody here. It's really how the market works. It really is. I mean, when I first started out trading, I always wanted to go with the move, right? But the move sometimes already happened. And now I'm looking to get a further move maybe at the end of the move. So shorting a low, long and a high, when the move happened already, right? And then what happens when you do that a lot of times? You're the sucker. Because the market doesn't work that way, right? So that's why a lot of times I'm not promoting ICT or whatever, but like some of the principles is really how the market works, right? It's really how it works. You know, the big boys who make the market need liquidity to move. Okay? They need your orders to move the market. They have large orders. Okay? That's really what happens. We can get into it in another day, but like look at a chart. I can literally go over many charts and just show you supply and demand and even the fair value gap, even the liquidity sweep, all that stuff. It's not mumbo jumbo. It's how the market works. It really is. That's why I'm more of a pullback, like reversal trader than going with something. That's why I more tend to go with that kind of style. I used to be big green candle, I want to go long, big red candle, I want to go short. And a lot of times I was shorting in the hole, or and you give yourself poor trade location, poor risk to reward. The difference now is if I do see that, okay, we're at a low in the market, but I know with my edge of seeing market profile, volume profile, and the internals that I'm comfortable of scalping. And I know that I might only get 4 points. I'm not looking for continuation. I don't have a problem taking that trade. Okay, now look, as I'm speaking, notice what's happening. All right, the ES's last week's highs is being supported right now. Also the close. So this could just be a pullback, right? Shorts take the profits, and now we could go higher. I don't know. Let's get into it. I know I'm getting very wordy, so let's get into it. And you know what? I'm gonna put one more, just so let's throw it up there one more time. All right, let's get into it. So this is a key level. Okay, this is a very key level. Right, most traded price of the week, close last week's highs. Right? Did we get the shallow pullback I talked about? I don't know. So what I would judge this on is how the market is going to respond. How do we open up? If we open up, let's say, come back, pull back, and we just are holding this level, right? Holding it. Well, that's probably the long. And then you're going to look to break out and break the overnight highs, 68886. This might cause our finally a move. I don't know. I really don't. Okay. Now, there can be a bear trap. What would the bear trap look like? Bear trap would look like this. We open up, we slice through this level, go to the midpoint of yesterday, the 50% retracement of yesterday. Now, this has to be quick to be the bear trap. We go in and you're like this. Oh my God, this is weak. And let's say you just get this. And you start holding, you go long. Okay, now we're in balance, right? If this market starts to roll, right, I believe you're going to take out last week's lows. Now you have a major demand zone here. Remember, thicker line, major demand zone. It's 6 hours or more. Okay? We have levels that are begging to be broken here. That's 68.20. Okay? I want to see how we judge a move here. Do we do this and recover quickly, put a higher low in? You could get a bounce back to the mean. That would be a balance low, long. Okay, so when we're in balance, I don't probably want to look at too many longs unless we're coming down to the balance lows. Because I want longs only above the most traded price of the week. That shows me strength. That shows me a bullish structure. If that makes sense to everybody. Okay. These are the rule sets that I put on myself, right? Ooh, I only want to be bullish above this level. Because the market is going to tell me, hey, we're accepting over this price. That is strong. It's not weak, right? So only longs over there. Okay. Bear side. All right. Now remember, I just talked about the 6 hour supply zone here. I talked about we swept liquidity to the upside. Right? This is setting up also for a nice short. Okay. Now let's say we wind up taking this thin volume up and going up to this 6 hour supply. We also have a supply zone from the past, from here. Okay, that's also a major supply zone. Okay, so if we come back up here and maybe let's just say we even tap that overnight high, but we fail, make a lower high, right? Well, now the longs gave us liquidity, right, that we could take out. Now, nice target would be that most traded price of the week. If you take that out and take out these overnight lows, this is where I believe the cascading to the other side of balance will happen. As long as we hold under here and even make an attempt but fail, you're going to go roll over. You're definitely going to test, most likely, yesterday's lows. If the market starts to get weak, okay, and remember, on the way down, the market always takes the elevator. On the way up, it takes the stairs most times, okay? This could really get ugly. Then you're going to test the 68.18 to 20s area. If you break that, you got major support here at 68.12. But then you have another major demand zone. This could be just a bounce here. But that would be a nice move. If it carries through, wow. All right, we're getting our pullback before Santa Claus comes to town. You're getting your pullback before Santa Claus comes to town. That's your ES. All right, let's go over to the NASDAQ because I'm running late here. Here's our NASDAQ. Okay, a bigger profile here, and it's more skewed to the upside. Okay, that does not look like the ES did. Notice this profile. Let me get the white. You have more or less a bullish skew to the profile. It's not like ES is like this. See how this has more a skew to the upside. So that's a little more bullish. Okay. Now, we're looking at levels, right? What do we have? Look, what do you know? What do you know? 256, ultimate balance, was your support right there. Remember I said 256, above it, I like to be long. Below it, I like to be short. Okay? We have our 6-hour supply that you put on together earlier. We already are in a big supply zone, but we just made a new one, a new fresh one. Okay? So, we know we have the liquidity sweep up high. We're right now at yesterday's close and should make the Nasdaq futures flat. Okay, if you look at the percentage from yesterday's close, it's flat. That's what we're seeing. Okay. Now, we have a beautiful level. And I'm going to make a box here. Okay. Beautiful level here. Now, why is this top of the box there? Well, that's last week's highs. And notice where yesterday's lows was. At last week's highs. So people bought last week's highs, right? Also, the month-to-date, week-to-date anchor view up right here. Okay? So this is your balance lows, essentially. Okay? That's all we really need to know, folks. Now, like I said, this could be the liquidity sweep to the downside to give fuel for us to finally push higher. I don't know if we do that. Okay? I don't know. Let's break it out and let's get into scenarios. It should be very similar to the ES, which we just did. Okay, let's put it up here. Now you're getting some nice buying. This is signifying profit taking from these shorts. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, so long side. What did I say? I want to be long if this is defended, right? Right now it is being defended. Right now you took out the overnight lows, right? Took out these overnight lows. Now you made these overnight lows. Okay, all I want to see is support. And then you get long. Take out that thin volume. Get into the 6-hour supply. This is not going to be easy to just cut through, okay, if the market's not super strong. So you're going to want to take some profits right there at that supply, okay? And then see if we can try to break that and hold it and see if you can go higher. I don't know how much higher you go. All I know is this is a good entry for a long. Okay? That's what I know. Now, if you get the bear trap, where we try to push lower, maybe even go to value area low from yesterday, 25552s, right? Let's say this happens quickly and all of a sudden you see the market do this. Oh, above 256 and it starts just holding and holding. Well, I think we're going higher. I don't know how high, but that's where my longs are at. Okay? We're already seeing probably they took profits there. Okay? And that's what we've been noticing constantly. You come down, you get bought. You come down, you get bought. You come down, you get bought, right? Now, balance area lows. Let's say we do take this out. Hold it. Push down here into this level. Two major demand zones right back to back, okay? These equal lows down here. Probably going to get tested. And if you come back in, that's your long. Back to the mean. All right, now shorts. All right, it's going to be very similar to ES right here. Short side, okay? If we go up into this supply zone, okay? If we do, let's just say you hit the overnight highs, you come down, you make a lower high. Now, these longs are in trouble, okay? And you can start pushing down to the overnight lows. This is important. Remember, if you take the 256s out and just show acceptance, meaning like at least two 30-minute bars, this is probably going lower. It's just gravity, like I said before. You probably test yesterday's lows, 25487s, and I think you go after these equal lows, 2420s, 25420s around, okay? And that's where you test them, and you're already in demand. So this, I'd be cautious. But if the market is really picking up steam and starts going, it could really get nasty. Of course, you could bounce up, but it could really take off, go down to the 2320s, 25320s. Okay, there's a lot of stacked demand there, so I'm not holding my breath on a market sell-off. Okay, but we are coming. This is ultimate balance. Big moves happen, so I don't know. Now, if you're conservative and you're like, well, I don't know. Steve said that 256 is important, and all of a sudden we're just hitting our head, and we try to go up, fail again. This is probably the short, and you can take it down. Okay, that's my analysis for today. Hopefully you enjoyed that. All right, smash the like button if you did. Okay, if you did. All right, now join me every morning. Subscribe, set an alert, give you the market story, the market news, the economic calendar, the leaders and laggards, and just why the market's doing what it's doing. I follow that with technical analysis, and I just give you the long and short trade scenarios in NASDAQ and ES futures. Okay, if you want more in-depth coverage, you're going to join my Discord. It's Confluence Trading. Go to my YouTube homepage, click on the link, and sign up. What are you waiting for? Let me be your indicator. I will never steer you wrong. Also, get the free indicator, the weekly expected move, from my Discord. It's free, okay? It is, you could put it on Thinkorswim, also see it on your phone. Okay, it's awesome. We've hit a lot of expected moves to the downside, some to the upside. That just shows our market craziness. Apple hit the expected move to the upside this week. Okay, Apple hit the expected move to the upside this week. Did Tesla? Tesla almost did. Meta hit its expected move to the upside. So just giving you certain ones. And then downsides, I went over the other day. Berkshire Hathaway, GE, Broadcom, Netflix. What else here? There was another one here. Microsoft, all hit expect. That's telling you right there the market is like consolidating. Major stocks hitting expected moves, upsides, downsides. That tells you all you need to know. Right? That this market could go wherever it wants to. That's the expected move right there is your edge. Major stocks hitting expected moves to the upsides. Major stocks hitting expected moves to the downsides. That's going to make a market gyrate like it is. So see how it always makes sense? It doesn't mean it's easy to trade it, but it makes sense. Like it's like, that makes sense. All right. Well, Steve said that these blah, 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 right? All right. Well, the market is kind of moving kind of wacky. There you go. All right. That's it for me, folks. Everybody have a great weekend. Remember, today, stay green if you can. No trade is a trade, right? And I'm going to try to stick to my path this week and only trade when I see something that I've seen many times before. Because whenever you try to step out and go, I like this little trade I'm manifesting in my head. Is it a setup that I do? Not really. You usually take a loss. Because it's off the hip, it's a gambling, it's like you want to do something kind of fidgety thing. And I know when I narrate, and I'm live in my room, and my boy MPH or Documents who comes in here, he like yesterday, he's like, you're kind of quiet today. And I'm like, yeah, it's because like there's nothing to do. We're in the middle of yesterday, so I mean, there's nothing to do. And whenever I feel that and I'm like not talking much, that's my own indicator. That's why I said, let me be your indicator. Okay. All right, everybody. I will see everybody on Monday morning. Hopefully, you come in the room. I see you in the room. All right. Remember, always ask questions.